Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe D'Annunzio, and I am the Executive Director of the Mike and Renee Child Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Nikki, if you could introduce yourself, please.
Absolutely. Hi there. My name is Nikki Peterson, and I am the Senior Program Manager at the Institute for Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
Great. And I know you're here mostly as observers, but Joanna and Julianne, would you also introduce yourselves, please?
Happy to, Joe. I'm Joanna Siebert. I'm the Associate Director of the Mike and Renee Child Institute for Entrepreneurship. And I get to do a lot of interaction with our Leaders for the Future fellows. And then over the year, getting to meet and interact with the business development fellows as well is a great part of my job. So look forward to talking with all of you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Julianne. I am a program manager at the Institute, and I manage the Big Bang Business Competition and the Little Bang Pitch and Poster Competition, and the Think, Do, Discover Speaker Series, and I help out with other programs as needed.
Thank you. So I'm going to take just a moment and let you know our plan for this session. First of all, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out of what I'm sure is a busy Friday. With the Olympics going on in Paris and all sorts of stuff, to spend a little bit of time with us. I'm going to start and give just a very brief introduction about the Institute. Then I'm going to turn it over to Nikki, and she's going to briefly go over a little bit about the elements of the Business Development Fellows Program and then the Leaders for the Future program. And then we have a great gift. We have two Leaders for the Future from last year's cohort who are going to tell a little bit about their experience. And then we'll have time, ample time for a Q&A. I'm also going to have a couple polls. In a moment, I'll show you how to participate in them. They're voluntary. We're not tracking them, but it'd be great to have your feedback and participation. And then, as I said, we'll have time for questions from our Leaders for the Future and from Nikki and me and our staff toward the end. But feel free to put questions as we're going, as they come up in the chat, and we'll do our best to respond to them in the moment, or at the end, we'll make sure we address all of them. All right, Nikki, anything I forgot?
I don't think so. We're ready to go.
Anything I said I shouldn't have said?
Not yet.
That's a rarity, isn't it? So I'm going to share my screen now. And go to slideshow. So here's our welcome. Woohoo! As I mentioned, we're going to do a couple of polls. They're informal. We're not tracking anything. There's two ways to join. If those of you are familiar with Poll Everywhere have the app, you can just open the app and type in UC Davis. Those of you that don't have the app, any device that has a web browser, feel free to go to pollev.com and then just enter UC Davis. Okay. I'm now going to shift to our poll. So our first question, one word, if you could. So instead of College of Engineering, just engineering. What's your field of study? We're just curious of the makeup of our group here. What is your field of study? For a moment. And often I say, well, you can answer more than once, just one word at a time. So if you happen to have two fields of study, feel free to add both of them. Just a moment. Looks like we've got a pretty broad mix. Engineering at the core, agriculture, computers, chemical, biotech, biomedical, environment, technology, biology. Fantastic. All right. Our second question. Just a short word answer. And again, we're not tracking this, but curious. What interests you about either or both the Business Development Fellowship and the Leaders for the Future Fellowship? Again, we're just curious. It'd be nice to see how you all respond. Short word answer. I think will be interesting for us to see. Management skills. Thank you for that. Connections and support. Networking. Networking, great. Learning about MBA skills. Shift to industry. Love it. Experiences. Diversifying skills. These are great. Thank you. Keep them coming. We'll take another couple moments. What interests you about the Business Development Fellowship and/or the Leaders for the Future Fellowship? One more, oh, sorry. Management and leadership skills. Great. Okay. One, creation. Now I have to wait every time I go to click the next slide, Nikki. We get more. Creating a business. Love it. These are great. Thank you. All right, now I'm moving. I promise. Last question. We'll do a couple at the end when we wrap up. What are you most interested in hearing about? We obviously have a plan, but we can adapt. We are growth mindset folks. What are you most interested in hearing about today in our briefing? And if you want predictions on who's going to win the Premier League this year, much as I'd like to talk about that, I will get in trouble with Nikki, so don't ask.
Save that for later.
How the program affects our pre-existing schedule. Great question. Thank you. How to apply and get the fellowship. Great. How to lead a team effectively to create a profitable business. Fellowship workload. Great question. How MBA coursework fits into biotech. Procedure of enrollment and requirements. Tips for a successful application. Great. These are great. How does this help a postdoc from an interdisciplinary science background? Tips for successful job interviews. Not happening. Divine intervention. Sorry. You never know. Anything could happen with the Hotspurs. Okay, these are great. Thank you. And thank you for humoring me. Okay, so we're going to go back to our presentation. And sorry for the in and the out. We just find this is the most effective way to do our presentation. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to take less than 5 minutes and just do a brief overview of the Institute. Again, if you've got any questions, please feel free to drop them in chat. And Nikki, if you don't mind, while I'm doing this, because I know you're going to be really busy in a moment with the others, we could drop into the chat the link for the applications for both the Leaders for the Future and the Business Development Fellows, because I know there were several questions about how do I apply, and so we can point to those. Great. Okay, so our mission, we're an independent institute. We're housed at the Graduate School of Management, you know, we certainly have a very close relationship with the business school, but we are independently funded and independently operated. So the team you're dealing with, we're part of the university, but we're kind of our own little thing. And that gives us the freedom to focus on the ways that we think will support all of our colleagues, whether it's undergrads, grad students, postdocs, faculty, or staff in pursuit of innovation and entrepreneurship. So you can see lots of words in front of you. Our mission, really it breaks down to 3 things, and I'll come to the part in the gold box last. First is to help UCD researchers find paths to commercialization for their work, right? And then on the bottom, to help build this entrepreneurial mindset everybody in our community wants to have impact. So how do we help them find their path forward to have impact? And this middle one actually is the core of why we're talking today, and is how the Institute started, which is really a focus on helping grad students and postdocs prepare for a career in innovation and entrepreneurship outside of academia. And if you look at the STEM fields, for instance, our colleague Andrew Hargadon, who is our faculty director, will tell you that at the UC's PhD students coming out of the STEM fields, 75% of you end up in industry. And so it's only a small minority that stay in academia, and it's fantastic for those that do. But for the majority of our PhD and postdoc students, you're looking for a path forward in an industry or government or policy, but outside of academia. So that's a big part of our focus. So a little bit on our numbers. We've trained quite a few people in our academies, and have participated in our Big Bang, granted more than $1 million. We have a huge mentor network, and we've had a lot of ventures come out of the Institute over the last 10 years that have not the only measure, but one good measure of the amount of venture capital focused. And then again, what's in the gold box? So we've had about 700 fellowships for postdocs, graduate students, and we have an undergrad program, not the focus of today's conversation, called EQUIP. This is a bit of a lot, and I'm only going to take 30 seconds to share with it. But this just gives you a sense of our programs. Those are the colored columns: academies, business competitions, fellowships, connections and convenings, and then academic work. And then kind of how we think of our constituencies: undergrads, grad students, postdocs, and faculty. And then we actually do work with industry researchers outside of UC Davis at the national labs. This sort of breaks down the programs that we offer. And as I said, just a light touch on this. I am going to talk specifically about two of these programs. The first is UCEA, the UC Entrepreneurship Academy. Both these fellowships would participate in the academy, and we'll talk about the dates in a moment. This is our flagship program, over 3.5 days. We typically have 20 speakers. We focus on validation, on identifying uncertainties, leveraging the empirical method, and helping you figure out how you move forward, how you build the network of advisors and sponsors to help you move forward. And at the end of the academy, we do a plenary pitch where a number of teams are selected to actually pitch an idea they may be working on or an innovation they want to move forward with. Second thing I want to highlight just briefly is the Big Bang Business Competition in this upcoming year. It is the 25th competition, so we're going to make a big deal out of that. We provide more than $100,000 in grants, and these are straight grants across 6 pillars, focus areas in food and ag, human health and animal health, energy and sustainability, social entrepreneurship, and education and ed tech. Provide support and mentorship, 3 rounds of judging, and workshops that help you to successfully complete in the Big Bang. And that will kick off, we'll talk about in a moment, but that'll kick off in November. Okay, so now it is time for me to turn it over to my colleague, Nikki. And Nikki, you'll tell me when you want me to advance slides. And of course, Nikki, I'll be glad to do a little color as helpful to your play-by-play.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay, so we're first going to start with an overview of the Business Development Fellowship. So this program is actually kind of what started our institute in 2006. It was really designed to help scientists, engineers, and other disciplines across campus to gain some business knowledge. This program is open to UC Davis graduate students, PhD candidates, and postdoctoral researchers in all disciplines. It requires the submission of an application, and then we provide you with a Zoom interview so we can get to know you a little bit better beyond just the application materials that you submit. It's a cohort of 10 business development fellows from across the university, and we focus on building skills and relationships so you can pursue leadership careers outside of academia and really be marketable within pursuing a career. At the end of the program, you actually will receive a certificate from the Graduate School of Management, and it is a 9-month-long program. So here are the goals and requirements for this particular program. So the goals is to really help you cultivate a foundational business management and leadership skills. We really believe in the power of the network, not just with your colleagues, but with other mentors and others around the business community and those in innovation and entrepreneurship. And then also help you identify your career pathway and develop those skills that you'll need to pursue your employment, post your fellowship. The requirements for the program, as Joe mentioned, he briefly talked about the UC Entrepreneurship Academy that really kicks off the fellowship September 10th through the 13th. Then you'll take 5 graduate level MBA courses. There'll be 2 in the fall, 2 in the winter, 1 in the spring. We have details on the website, and I can share those with you in a little bit about what specific classes if you're interested in that. We also do quarterly luncheons from noon to 1. There's the October, February, and May dates are listed there for you. This allows us to check in with you, see how things are going, provide the support and networking that you need to be successful in the program. One of the really fun things we do with this program is we schedule lab tours. So every fellow has the opportunity to prepare a 1-hour presentation and tour of their specific lab. And the fellows, along with our directors and myself, generally go to these tours so we can get to know each other on a deeper level and get to know, different disciplines and areas of study across campus. The Career Pathways panel is from noon to 2 on December 4th. We bring in past fellows who have graduated from the program, maybe a few years out, and have successfully found a career or have overcome obstacles and kind of can help you coach you through the process of what happens post fellowship. One thing we really like to stress on this particular program is that it really is time intensive to a certain extent. So if you're looking at this program, be prepared to spend about 20 hours a week to successfully complete all 3 quarters of this program.
Great, thank you, Nikki. And if you don't mind, I got a couple of questions that we got up front. I think this is a good spot to answer them. So first is, it is a big commitment. The Business Development Fellows program, successful students are taking 3 MBA level classes. And it's fantastic because you get to work with MBA students and our faculty. The expectation is you're, like any other student, completing the assignments, engaged with teams, with your fellow students, most of whom are MBA students. And then the other work associated with the program, really leaning into it is how you're going to get the benefit for your development, to build the skills you want, and help you develop the path to, what comes next in your career. And then I know there's a question about sort of the criteria and how, we make decisions. We always get quite a few more applications than we have spots, of course. And so we do have to make a decision about the folks that we think are best positioned to succeed in the program. We would love to expand it, but the GSM is very generous in giving us, 10 seats. I think a couple things that we found over the years that are really important to successful folks in the Business Development Fellows program. The first is pretty straightforward. It's commitment, like willing to really lean into the opportunity to engage in the classes, the Entrepreneurship Academy, the workshops, building a relationship with your cohort. Your peers are going to be with you. You'll hear at the Career Pathways panel, the cohort stays together. They stay in touch and they support each other. So commitment is the first one. I think the second one is just a clear rationale for why you want to do this, right? How is this going to help accelerate your career, help you define the path forward? What is it about this program that's really well suited to how you want to move forward in your career? And then third is your ability to, really demonstrate that you're willing not just to be an active participant as an individual, but as a group member. So most of the MBA classes involve teamwork, particularly the leadership classes where you're really learning hands-on how to be an effective leader. And within your cohort, participating in a way that you really are a member of a team. Okay, so that was my little bit on that. I think I addressed a bunch of the questions. So back to you, Nikki.
Great, thank you. So just a couple of profiles from our Business Development Fellows. These fellows participated with us last year. Shu Yu is in horticulture and agronomy. She really was just a really shining star in the program and applied the knowledge that she learned over the year. Sergio Valbuena, he's civil engineering. So, like we said, we bring in people from all different disciplines. And so it's really interesting for you to be able to interact with others from across campus who have different interests and areas of study.
You ready to move on to Leaders for the Future, Nikki?
Here we go. So transitioning to Leaders for the Future Fellowship. So here's an overview of this program. This one is also open to UC Davis Masters PhD students, as well as postdoctoral researchers, again, in all disciplines. There's a application requirement along with an interview. As I mentioned before, we like to get to know you a little bit better. There's a cohort of 20 Leaders for the Future fellows that are open for this particular fellowship. So it's a little bit of a broader cohort. You engage in an experiential project or applied experience beyond academia. So this is something we help you identify and develop throughout the course of the fellowship. And it varies depending on the fellow and what you're aiming to do once you graduate. And so, we work with you on that extensively. And then we help you learn and apply leadership, innovation, and business skills throughout interactive luncheons. And so there's a series of dates on the calendar. We'll bring you together for a 2-hour lunch and a workshop series based on different topics that help develop these skills. And then also, as I mentioned, along with identifying that experiential project, you'll receive mentoring, coaching, and guidance while exploring your career possibilities, and then help you distinguish yourself as a job candidate. So you're, again, highly marketable when you go out there to actually interview and apply for your career jobs. So goals and requirements for this program. So we're helping you investigate career possibilities as you design and engage in your project and your experience. And so as you gain those leadership skills and learn more about your, developing your interests and what you'd like to do, your pathway forward, we help you with develop those skills. And then we help you learn and apply career development approaches. And so those include developing your professional brand. Who are you and how you present yourself? Communicating with impact, being able to truly articulate who you are, what you're interested in, and how that fits into the industry that you're pursuing. And then building your network. As I mentioned before, network is really key in how we succeed. And so we help you expand your network. We help you maximize your transferable skills. So taking the skills that you learn in the lab and how that actually applies in a business or industry career. And then the one-on-one coaching and guidance help you, job search and help you with the application techniques that help you succeed and provide, getting the jobs that you're looking for. The program requirements for this one, we really emphasize the engagement and a focused experiential project. So again, we work with you on identifying that and pursuing that. Full attendance and participation in that UC Entrepreneurship Academy. It's a great way to kick off the program. You get to work alongside the business development fellows and other participants from UC Davis, and that's a really great experience to kind of launch you into the program. The lunch and learn sessions from noon to 2. The dates are listed there, generally about once a month. Again, the Career Pathways panel from noon to 2 on December 4th. We bring in past fellows and we interact with them, and you can ask your questions. And then there's actually a closing session from 9 to 4 on May 15th, where you get to articulate what you learned throughout the year and present your pathway forward and how you look at the future going forward. So now we're to the time with questions and answers. And Joe, does this go back to you, I believe? And
this is the opportunity for questions and answers with our 2 wonderful Leaders for the Future fellows. So
yes.
Nikki, you could introduce our first fellow.
I'd love to. So Zhengling Zhang is here. He's a Leaders for the Future fellow from last year. He's in the horticulture and agronomy, a PhD candidate. I'll allow you to, if you'd just like to briefly introduce yourself and say hello.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Nikki. I'm Zhang. I'm a PhD candidate from the Graduate Group of Horticulture and Agronomy. I study rice systems in California about carbon and nitrogen cycling. So yeah, I got this opportunity last year, came on board, learned a lot of good things, and not just about like networking and professional development, but also a lot about some of the good attitudes that we should take with us in our work. So I do think the Academy gives you a space to look outside of your research lab to learn more about work ethics, to do professional development, and I had a great time. I learned a lot.
Thank you. And then we also have Bachihan Bozkurt here with us. He's also a PhD candidate in integrated genetics and genomics.
Thank you. I think Zhang really covered what the program teaches excellently. I can add why I ended up choosing the program in the first place. I had about 6 years of research experience before I started my PhD. I knew a lot about academia, but not as much about the skills we need in industry. And whenever I listened to a seminar from a UC Davis alum in biotechnology, they were always highlighting the importance of networking and soft skills. A PhD is a great time to learn anything, not just our field, but as well as these personal skills as well. So I started looking into the programs, and Leaders for the Future popped up for 2 reasons. A, it is an excellent, well-focused program containing all of those essential skills. And B, compared to the business fellows for my schedule, the time commitment for the Leaders for the Future was a lot more sensible for me personally. The time you spend in the program ratioed over the value you get is immense. It is only a tiny amount of time every other week with great lunches catered, by the way. And, you know, whenever we go to conferences, there might be 1 or 2 talks we're interested, the rest could be meh. With the Leaders for the Future, I can honestly say I enjoyed and found use for everything I learned in the program. There wasn't a moment wasted. It was a good opportunity for me to get out of my field, out of my comfort zone, both just focus on something new, learning something new and being excited about it, which kind of breaks the monotony of research, as well as improve myself and meet these wonderful people who has been helping me a lot in my journey towards, you know, finding a place for myself after graduation, basically. Yeah.
Thank you, Bachihan. That was great. Okay. So now we're going to turn it over to all of you in our audience here to go ahead and you can unmute and ask your question. If it's something about a personal experience that Bachihan or Zhang had in the fellowship, you can go ahead and just go ahead and unmute and ask your questions.
Absolutely. Or if you're more comfortable entering it in chat, that's fun too. But now's a good time to ask the questions because I think it's important for everybody to come in and understand what the expectations are. And if it's a good fit, because if it is, we would love for you to apply to either the Business Development Fellows Program or for the Leaders for the Future program. Our institute is really dedicated to finding and engaging with students, whether they're PhDs, postdocs, master students. It's really important to us to be supportive of you, but it's also important that you come in eyes wide open and know that this program is a good fit for helping advance your career and a good fit where you are in the arc of your work as a student. Plus, we're fun. I think it's pretty clear we're a fun group, right, Nikki?
Yeah.
Fun.
If you don't mind, I would love to add one quick thing. We always think these are for people that want to go into industry. The program never says that, but there is a student perspective towards it. Communications is key for academia. Our research is only as important as we can convey it to other people. I always say the success of research is bottlenecked by our ability to present it, both in writing and in conferences personally. So even if you're interested in staying fully academic, I think the impactful speaking, branding, communications, they were all quite valuable for any career path.
Thank you. So I see a few hands raised, so I'm just going to start at the left hand of my screen and start there. So Hala?
Hello, thank you for your programs. I have a question. I'm really interested in this program, but I've heard that it requires lots of work, and these MBA courses, they have lots of assignments. So I want to ask the fellows that how you could handle it together with your research, and how difficult was it?
So I'll start with that one. So our fellows on this call are both Leaders for the Futures Fellow, and I would like them to respond as to why they chose the Leaders for the Future over the Business Development Fellows program. So let me ask them to do that, and then I can respond a little bit for the Business Development Fellows program. And if you do want to speak with a Business Development Fellow, we have an upcoming info session that we'll put in the chat, the schedule for, where we'll have 2 Business Development Fellows on us. But would either of our fellows like to talk about why you chose Leaders for the Future as opposed to the Business Development Fellows program?
I'm happy to. If, that was a key factor when I was trying to decide between business fellows or Leaders for the Future time. I took the program during my 2nd year, right before my qualifying exam, right when my research was properly ramping up. I was TAing, so I knew I didn't really have any time to spare. Therefore, Leaders for the Future was the ideal option for me. It is condensed, except the Entrepreneurship Academy. It is a bi-weekly program of about 1 to 2 hours each week, well, every other week. So it fits nicely into your research schedule. The MBA classes and business fellows, I would assume it's a lot more work and a lot more consistent work. You can't really plug that in anywhere. But I would like to have it for something like my 4th year, right before I graduate, when I'm done with my classes. Leaders for the Future kind of made me excited about maybe pursuing that path. But yes, if you're worried about the research load you might have, you might consider either taking the fellowship later in your career or maybe opting for Leaders for the Future.
Thank
I
you.
think Batuhan probably mentioned most of the points. But just an additional point to add on is that Nikki, correct me if I'm wrong, but I recall that we do need our PI's approval to join these 2 programs.
Yes.
So yeah, when I had this discussion with my boss, we felt that this was a good way to set me up to look for jobs when I'm leaving the program, and based on my research needs and what I need to do for the lab, this was an appropriate fit. So definitely something to discuss with your PI, and something to have a conversation about. Both of you can come to consensus about what is an appropriate amount of time to dedicate to professional development. But I would also say that professional development is incredibly important, and you should you should go and do it.
Thank you both for that. And let me just build on that just briefly. We do believe that, particularly if you've made the decision not to stay in academia, that developing your business skills, no matter where you're going, even if your focus is going to be in research or science, is helpful to you. And I do want to emphasize a couple things. Yeah, we want to make sure that your PI, whoever you're working with in the lab, is comfortable and that they're willing to sign off on this, because both programs are a commitment. But as we've talked, the Business Development Fellows program is a significantly bigger commitment. In particular, like in the fall, you'll be taking 2 MBA classes, and so they are a substantial amount of work. We follow plus or minus the Carnegie standard. So these are, across the quarter, 30-hour classes. So you're all good at math, I'm certain, kind of figure out how, much time that typically takes. So, we try to be conservative, but I don't think it's unreasonable in the 2 quarters when you have 2 classes, that 15 to 20 hours a week is a fair estimate of how much work you need to do to be in the Business Development Fellows program. And as you heard our fellows from the Leaders for the Future say, it's significantly less than that for the Leaders for the Future. And they are very different, really. They both help prepare you for the class, for your career path forward. The classes in Business Development Fellows program are, probably the single biggest distinguishing fact in terms of time commitment. Okay, Nikki, I think we can go on to
Okay.
our next question.
Yes, so Raul's got a question here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I had actually two questions. The first one, can you do first like leadership for the future and then business development? Can you apply for both consecutively, or do you usually just give one or the other to people and then like you cannot apply to the other one? Or does it hurt or does it even help to like do business development afterwards? That's my first question, because I'm most interested in like the business development one, but at the moment I don't think I could apply for this year since yeah, I'm doing my QE like some other students that are in the Zoom meeting. And the second question, just there are some other fellowships across the university that usually have some sort of financial support, either for stipend or tuition. I just wanted to make sure that, because I haven't seen anything regarding that in the website. So this is no financial support at all, right? It's just it's mostly the program, but not any sort of financial support. Those were my two questions.
Yeah, so I can take the second one, Nikki, if you want to take the
Okay.
first. So, yeah, so all of our programs have no fees associated with them, including the Business Development Fellows program, but they do not come with a financial stipend. That is correct.
And then for your other question about whether, not to take which fellowship and what fits into your schedule best. And you are welcome to apply to both, but generally speaking, these info sessions and then, determining maybe ahead of time which one you think will actually fit into your schedule best at a particular time. So that's why, our fellows on the call here today said they chose the Leaders for the Future program. And then later on, as you start to finish up your coursework and you get perhaps into your last year here at UC Davis, the Business Development Fellows, when you have more time to dedicate to that fellowship, is great. It allows you to enter our network early on. So if you decide, it's actually really common for, somewhat common for people to apply to both fellowships and go through both. And so that's not unheard of. But it really just depends on where you're at in your coursework and in your, your educational journey and what you think you can actually, benefit from the most and be able to adequately dedicate your time to without being, completely overloaded.
All right, so just to clarify, so there are some cases in which people go through Leadership for the Future and then do business development. That's allowed. Does it help going through the first one, and then does it help your chances of getting into the business development one if you did Leadership for the Future fellowship program first?
We really, Joe, do you want to answer this one or do you want me to take it?
You're welcome to, Nikki. I can join in.
Okay, great. We really do, as applications come in for each separate fellowship, we evaluate those applicants independently for each fellowship. However, if you were in a fellowship prior to applying to a second one, we would have experience with you and know you. And so it would actually help us evaluate whether or not we felt like doing a second fellowship would help you proceed in your goals. So it would just depend on your timing and how you apply.
Yeah, and I think
All right, thank you.
yeah, our goal, of course, is to try to meet you where you are, what your needs are. But again, as I said, be realistic about that match. So, just being blunt, if you have doubts about your ability to fit in the coursework in the Business Development Fellows program, that it's really going to be a stretch, But you really want to start investing in, thinking about management and your career path forward. I'd encourage you to look at the Leaders for the Future program. You need to be pretty confident that you'll be able to handle the workload. And I'm guessing most of you are PhD or postdoc students. You've handled a big workload in your careers already. I'm not saying this is like some, oh my gosh, you've never worked hard before. But we want you to be realistic, right? Because there's nothing more frustrating to you or bluntly to your professors if you come in and it's like, hey, I don't have the time and the energy to do the work. We've run the program for 16 years now, the Business Development Fellows program. We've had 100 and some odd fellows go through the program. They've done it successfully. You have, this isn't a gauntlet, but it's just about the right time in your career, right time in your graduate work for the program.
Fantastic. Looks like I've got Stephanie next.
Hi, so I think my question was actually answered in the chat, but I'm actually an incoming master's student, so I'm not starting the school until fall, and I have not yet assigned an advisor. So that was my question. Would I be able to apply without having an advisor yet? So I'm assuming no, not for this year.
It would depend, but I think that being able to know what your current schedule is going to look like coming into the fall, getting to know who your advisor is, and making sure that you have that necessary support to do a program like this, it might be better to wait a little bit. But you can still apply to the program if you'd like to, depending on how your schedule comes together for the fall. But having your PI or your advisor's support is really important. So if you don't have one in place yet, it might be problematic for it to come in later on, and there might be a conflict.
I appreciate your interest. Candidly, I'd encourage you to wait a year to kind of get your everything set. We're not going away. We're going to be here and get into your program, get comfortable with advisors who know you, and then be able to make that decision, because it'd be tough to join and then you start that and I go, hey, this is not a good idea. So I'd encourage you, again, you absolutely can apply. So don't take this as don't do it, but I'd encourage you to wait a year.
Okay, so also my other question is, do you have any other programs that are not as time consuming, I guess, that would not need my advisor support, something I can just start to get a kind of a taste of what the fellowship would be like?
Nikki, you want to jump in?
Yes, we do. So our Entrepreneurship Academy that we talked about earlier, the 4-day intensive, that's a really great way to get involved with us, get some innovation and entrepreneurial education and skill sets going, get to know our network. It's a relatively small investment in time for the return that you get from that. Our September Academy is coming up, but we host again in February. And so you'd have the opportunity to kind of get settled in this fall and get used to your new schedule. And then, by the time February comes around, you could join that academy and get involved with us. As Julianne mentioned at the beginning of this call, we also have the Big Bang Business Competition. So if you actually have a business idea you'd like to explore and develop, that's always available. And then, of course, we have events and speaker series and other things throughout the year that are opportunities for you to continue to stay connected with us and grow your network as you're getting started here at UC Davis. And so I'll put in the chat the link to connect with us, because then you would have the opportunity to get those email notifications when other events come along that may just be an evening commitment or what have you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we got Lonnie Filani.
Okay, thank you very much for everything you've said so far. So I have just one question. So for the BDF, do I need to have a business idea before applying for the program? I understand I should show passion and the ability to commit to the time requirements and all of that, but do I already need to have like a business idea or something I'm working on before I can be accepted into the program? Thank you so much.
So for the Business Development Fellows program, you really you don't need to have a business idea for this particular one. However, for the UC Entrepreneurship Academy, That 4-day intensive that starts off the program, we recommend and we help work with you if you're if you're accepted to the program, to identify some kind of a business idea or a problem that you'd like to solve in the world, so you can grapple with the workshops and the peer work that happens during the academy. However, for the fellowship program, taking the business courses and going through that process with the quarterly luncheons, you won't be required to have a business idea. You may be in a team project in a course where your team would have to come up with something, but that's not a requirement for the fellowship.
Thank
And
you
if I
so
could-
much.
Oh, so sorry, I didn't interrupt. Yeah, if I could add one thing, absolutely, your research is likely to be a good anchor to be part of the academy. Even if you're not sure you want to commercialize it, being able to anchor around, if I were to, what would I need to believe? And so we find a lot of students come in, not interested in starting a business, but have done significant research and do want to see if there's a path to having that be impact. And that works really, really well.
Got it. Okay, so I'm looking at, okay, based on my field, I'm in environmental engineering. And yeah, I'm just trying to see the business side of it. Later on, I'm thinking about getting a consultancy position. Like, do you think it aligns to what you just said in terms of if I have plans to work in a consultancy role, not necessarily business in that sense? Do you think it still matches?
Yeah, Nikki, you should feel free, but absolutely. And I think a strength of our programs is that we are open to all fields of study, all sort of status of where you are in your work. I think a hallmark of our programs have been our cohorts come with very different perspectives, different research agendas, different fields of industry. I think coming, with a unique perspective really adds a lot to the cohort. If we had everybody the same with the same approach, same field of study, it wouldn't nearly be as robust or impactful.
Thank you so much.
Right,
Okay,
and
we have another-
Shanice. Oh.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, for the Business Development Fellowship, do you find that like the MBA class that you take, if someone wanted to take an actual MBA in the future, like the courses can count towards that actual like MBA degree?
Yeah, I can take that one, Nikki. Thank you for the question. Yeah, so the dean Dean Unova is very supportive of this program, and it's through his commitment that we're able to provide 5 MBA classes at no cost to our fellows. And it's quite common. I don't mean like half the cohort, but it is not unusual for a student at the end of the BDF program to decide they want to pursue an MBA. And then it's subject to a sit-down conversation with the dean. But to my knowledge, and Nikki, please correct me if I'm wrong, he's never said no. So basically come in and say, hey, I love this. I want to join the MBA program, whether it's the full-time program, our part-time program, or our fastest growing and candidly most popular program, our online program. And I'd like the courses that I've already taken to be credited against that. I would say I can't guarantee because I'm not the dean, which is a good thing for the grad school. But I would say with a high degree of confidence that would be acceptable. And so you just would have to be accepted to the program, which again, we've had great success with our fellows who have been interested in this path being accepted into the MBA program. It's a great question. Thank you for it.
Mhm.
All these have been good questions, but that was one we probably should have anticipated. Apologies. Thank you for it.
So follow up too, if I wanted to do, or I don't want to do a like MBA, it could be years later after they graduate. And they did, let's say, either say at Davis or go to a different school, is that those courses would still could apply if I speak with the director.
Yeah, I think that's subject to a conversation and frankly, probably a negotiation. Now, one of the MBA classes is negotiation, so that could possibly help you out quite a bit. I would say for other schools, I have much less visibility and knowledge, but a couple of years from now, you've had a couple of years of work experience, whatever, you come back and say, hey, I was a fellow, I did this, can this help accelerate? I would be surprised if the answer is absolutely. But outside of UCD, that's a harder question for me to answer. Okay, Nikki, I know we were going to wrap up at 5 of, can you drop our contact info if you don't mind while I'm vamping here to the end? So if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to Nikki or to me. And a couple of you asked me direct questions that's specific to your situation. I will follow up, given it's late on a Friday, probably Monday, before we can get back to you on those. And then Nikki dropped in the chat the info for our August 12th session. So if you end up in thinking about this, have some additional questions, and you want to join that session, please feel free. I will say, just to be clear, our program is rolling admissions for the fellowships. So while it will remain open until August 29th, it will remain open until filled. So don't want to rush anyone prematurely, but the sooner, if you are interested, the sooner you apply, candidly, the better. It's probably the most direct way to say that, right, Nikki?
Yes, very true. Very true.
All right.
This is
Any final things? Nikki, I see Joanna and Julian are still on. Any other things anybody else on our team would like to add?
No, I think that I want to thank everybody for coming, and we, like they mentioned earlier, getting on our mailing list or checking back with us as we get started for the year. You'll see lots of great activities happening if you decide not to apply for a fellowship. And so we just look forward to staying connected with you.
Great. And of course, Nikki put in our connect with us and our events in the chat. Those links are there.
Yes, those links are there. And then Bak Jihan is also generously volunteering his time as well, if you'd like to actually
Thank
talk
you.
to a fellow.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you to our awesome fellows who survived. You don't have any scars, at least not that I can see. So awesome. Thank you, everyone, for your engagement and for your interest in the Institute and the fellowships. Super grateful for all of you. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and a great weekend. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to email us and or join our next info session on August 12th. And echoing Joanna's words, please do sign up to be part of our mail list. You'll get all of the events. A number of you asked about, hey, I'm not quite ready to commit, but what about, you can come to the Big Bang workshops. You can come to our Think, Do, Discover. You can come to our ideas session. We have lots of programs that you can participate in.
Fantastic. Thank you all. Bye
Thank
now.
you, everyone. Bye.